Welcome to Soccer Gaming, and today I wanted to go over a few things that I have learned from playing New World. And with about 80 hours already played since released, I have a few tips that I think are important to know early that set you up for success, whether you plan on playing the in-game or not. Here are the tips that I think will best help you throughout the game. So without further ado, let's get this one started. So the first thing I want to go over is that these are things that I either learned as I went, or looking back, I wish I would have done more early on. So this is kind of just like getting into the game. This isn't like in-game content. This is more like at the very beginning, what should you kind of focus on? So the first thing I want to bring attention to is to just play with all the types of weapons. As you can see here, there's a ton of weapon choices between one-handed, two-handed, ranged weapons, magic. I actually end up doing magic. I do a lot of the life staff stuff and fire staff stuff. Ultimately, I wish I would have played more with some of the other ones like the rapier and stuff like that, because there's a ton of really good weapons out there and a ton of special abilities that really can sway a battle. So early on, play with as many weapons as you can and play with as many weapon types as you can to see what you want to end up doing early on, because up till level 20 you can kind of just mess around with stuff and spec your character for free. After that, it gets pretty expensive to spec your character, so you have about 20 levels to kind of figure out what you would like to do and what you'd like to put your character into. You also can raise your weapon levels and all that stuff, because each weapon has its own skill base. So anytime you use a straight sword, you're getting XP towards that weapon, and then you're gaining special abilities with those weapons. So it's one of those things, like, you want to kind of figure out what you like and what you want to be, and then start speccing your character out to either be a tank or a healer or a damage per second person, DPS. You want to end up doing that in the first 20 levels, so that way after you respec your character, you're set up for success the rest of the game. So at number 2, I have passive skills, and what I mean by this are skills that you do just passively playing the game. They're usually not skills that like are your weapon skill is a whole different thing. These are skills like logging, mining, fishing, harvesting, and tracking and skinning. So starting it off, logging is you're gonna need a logging axe. It's not the axe that you use as a weapon. That's a completely different thing. Mining, you're gonna use the mining pickaxe. Fishing, a fishing pole. Harvesting, a harvesting sickle. And then tracking and skinning, you're gonna be using a skinning knife. Now, what I mean by doing these passive skills is I just want you to go out and do them whenever you have the chance. What I mean by this is if you have some like room in your bag and you're running back to base and you're getting ready to turn in some quests or whatever, and you have some room, go ahead and add some logs, mine, hit trees, do all that good stuff to try to gain this passive skill, because later on in the game you really need this passive skill to be at a certain level to be able to take advantage of certain things. So the more you log earlier on in the game, the better you're set up kind of for the mid game and in-game stuff. So all of these go up to level 200. Obviously, as you go up, it gets more XP in order for you to raise these levels. So make sure you try to do these levels as you go, kind of do them early on. That way you're not setting at like a level 25 and your logging's at like a 10, because that will not work. You will not be able to progress through the game if your logging is that low at that type of level. So some benefits of doing this is it's going to set you up for the mid game. It's also going to allow you to do things quicker. So the higher your level of logging is or mining is, the faster you're actually going to be at getting those resources, and you're going to get more resources as you continue throughout the game. So make sure you do these passive skills as you're playing. Maybe take a couple hours every night, or take an hour every night and just do passive skills. So the next thing is kind of weird, and I learned this early on, but I really do think this is important. So I played the first couple days without doing this, and my hand actually started to hurt based on the keys I used and what I wanted to do. So to auto run, it was the equal sign, which is up in the right hand corner of your keyboard, and it made it kind of difficult. If I wanted to auto run, I had to run up there, grab it, and if I wanted to auto run while doing other things, it made it difficult. So what I decided to do was change my keys to actually make them easier. I actually changed my auto run, which was equals. I changed it to a mouse button. And then I also changed my map button, which is default M. I also switched that to a mouse button. So I can do everything that I need to do with just one hand on the keyboard and one hand on the mouse. I don't need to move my hand on the keyboard to hit any special thing. All of the keys that I need, I can do within reach of one hand. So that's very important that you set yourself up for success and make things easier on yourself in the long run. The next thing is getting food. You need to get food throughout this. The higher levels you go, the less, I guess, quote unquote, food you need to get. It's more potion based and stuff like that. But early on, you need to get food to be able to heal yourself. What food does for healing is it allows you to be able to heal over a certain amount of time. So a potion, usually you take it, you gain like 500 health or whatever. Whereas if you need 300 health over a little bit of time, or you need 1,000 health over a little bit of time, that's what food can do for you. And you can get food by skinning animals, then cooking them in the pot, or you can sickle to harvest plants in the world, stuff on farms like corn and lettuce and tomatoes and all that good stuff. Or you can find these in chests as well as you're going through towns and stuff and looking through buildings. You can get some of this stuff in chests. The fifth thing to go over is knowing the damage types and being able to use them to your advantage. There's 4 different damage types that you'll need to know. There's the first damage type to know is orange, and this is going to be critical hit damage, and you're going to obviously do way more damage getting critical hits on the person you're fighting. You could do this by hitting them in the weak spot, or most people in the back, you will get that critical hit damage. The next one is yellow, and that means you're strong against it. So if they're this certain type and you're this certain type, you deal more damage because they are not efficient against that type. So yellow is what you kind of want to shoot for when trying to attack someone. You want to get the strongest hit possible. White means you're just normal, like they have no benefits, they have no weaknesses, nothing to it. You're just basically attacking them and getting that number. Then at blue, that means you are weak against that type. So as you can see in some of my videos, I attack with like a bow, and it makes it hard to bring them down when you're only doing about half the damage with the bow than what it should be doing. So make sure if you're getting blue hits against something, or you're seeing blue numbers, that you possibly change up what you're doing or what you're using to get hits. The sixth thing I want you to do is try out different abilities. I kind of went over this in the play all weapons type, like just play with all the weapons, but use all different types of abilities. So each time you get a weapon or something leveled up, you get a certain token that you use for an ability. Now, to use that ability, I go through the abilities and I'm like, don't like it, I respec it, oh, I like the way this built out. Make sure that early on you're changing up what you want to do with that character. So a healer, there's like 4 or 5 different types of heals you can do, but you need to use what best works for you and your team. So what I did is like I would go through and figure out a certain direction. I'd be like, no, I don't really like the way that this heal does for my group, because I don't need my group to have a bunch of mana, because I have a bunch of tanks on my team. So I don't need the mana one, I need the bigger critical hit damage one. So just kind of going through there and playing with them for like early on is going to help you kind of build that. And then what I did was I just tried one side and try to see what each one does, and if I like it, okay, I'm going to spec through and get all of these on this side, then I'm going to go over to this side and get the ones I need over here. So just playing with it is going to help for the long run. Each weapon has its own abilities. The seventh thing, and one of the most important things I think I learned through going through this, is to upgrade your tools when they become available. If I would have known this, I could have saved a lot of time and a lot of energy and passive skill building, because I started with the flint. You use the flint for a while, and then you go to iron, then you go to steel, then you go to star metal. But what I did is I had flint tools for probably the first 25 levels, and I really honestly struggled to kind of keep up with other people that were the same levels, and it really kind of hurt me, and I wish I would have known it earlier on. In tier 1, it is flint. You're getting 100% gathering rate, so you're getting the normal gathering rate, everything's fine. At tier 2, you're getting iron, and you get about 123 to 225% gathering rate. So you're already jumping. If you get like 225, you're already jumping double what you were with the flint. So by going to iron, and this is within levels 4 and 19 is where they suggest you get these. So as I said, I didn't upgrade until 25, but I was already out of the iron category and into tier 3, which is steel. At steel, you get 240% to 350% of the resources and XP and everything. They suggest that from level 16 to 39. So this is where I should have went to, but instead I started with flint, went all the way up to 25 with flint. Then I actually went to iron and did iron for a couple levels, and then I figured out, oh, I can do steel stuff. Then I went to steel and did that for a while, and then at tier 4, it's star metal, and you get about 370% to 550% of that, and that's where I was like, oh, this would have been so much easier if I would have just leveled up the way I should. That is about level 33 to 59, and then tier 5 is the Orlichcum, 560 to 850%. That's usually level 51 to 60. So make sure you are upgrading your tools throughout as you go, because you need to get those resources quicker, you need to get that XP quicker, and these definitely help you upgrade. So the 8th thing I want to go over is every 5 levels or so, upgrade your weapons. And what I mean by this is, like, if you're a 20 and you get to a 25, don't just go out and buy a level 25 weapon, or don't just like, oh, well, this one's a 24, my other one's a 20, use it. You want to go over the stats of the weapons and see which one actually is better. But what I did is about every 5 levels, I would go into the store and find a weapon that I like and that suited me at a better skill level. So at level 20, I had a fire staff and a life staff. It was great, awesome. At 25, I still was using the same, but not doing as much damage. And that's what you're having problems with, if you don't upgrade every about 5 levels, then you're going to be doing less damage to creatures that are higher levels, meaning it's going to take you longer and possibly you end up dying because you're not strong enough. So about every 5 levels, make sure you're going out and trying to get a better upgraded weapon to help you fight the enemies that you're facing. Now, what I normally do again is I go to the auction and see in each place, hey, what can I get for about a level 25 or so? And oh, this fire staff's a lot better than the one I have now. I like the perks it has. Let's go ahead and choose that and move on. The 9th thing is to keep track of where things spawn. This is very useful, and I use this website daily when trying to do things, because guess what? I'm not going to remember where everything is on the map, and I don't expect you guys to either. What I expect you guys to do is to use a nice and easy website that does it all for you. So here is the website. Here's the map. As you can see, you can basically go through and find exactly what you want, where you want it. What I normally do is I have the towns and all the forts and stuff up, so I know exactly where I'm at. And then I go through and select if I want just iron nodes. I select iron nodes, and boom, all the iron nodes are here. This is where you can get them. And then you just run around the map and find them. This saves so much time when it comes to needing these things, because iron is a very, very high commodity. Everyone's out getting it. So I might run this way and there's no iron nodes, and I'm like, oh, well, this is wrong. It's not wrong. It's just somebody came by just a little bit ago and took off all of the iron there. So keep that in mind when you're using this website to try to find things. If you're needing certain metals, if you're needing silver, if you're needing certain plants, all of that stuff is on the map and on the website. So make sure you use that, because other people are, and they're already ahead of you in finding those nodes. The 10th thing I want to go over is kind of just to drill home how important the town board quests are. And so every town has a town board. Every town kind of does a little bit different as far as like what you can and can't get, because some places you can't even get a grizzly bear, so they don't have that on their town board. But all of these town boards have certain things you can do, and this is good because you're going to be putting some resources to good use. Say you have all these traveling rations that you made when you're a lower level, and now you don't really use them. You use potions or something else. You have really no use for it. Don't throw them away, because eventually you will have a town board quest that asks for those rations, and then boom, easy XP, easy coins, everything that you already have you basically turn into XP and extra coin. Also helps with the territories in general, helps you raise your territory rank, because territory ranks are good because then you get extra XP and stuff like that along the way. And the best part about this is it's so quick and easy, and a lot of these are simple, like getting 5 lumber or 5 flint. You can literally go out in a minute, grab it, come back in, boom. So the last thing and the most important tip for playing this game for beginners is to enjoy the game, enjoy the ride, because this is a very long-term game. This isn't a game you're going to play for 20 hours, beat it and be done. No, this is an MMO. You're going to be playing this game for weeks after. There's going to be continue updates coming out, continue map updates, like everything. It's going to be a long ride, so enjoy it. Don't burn yourself out by playing 40 hours in 2 weeks and trying to get up to level 60 so that you're level 60. Like, don't do that. Enjoy the game. You're going to eventually get there. If you go out and farm and at 30 minutes into the farming you're like, this is boring, I'm not enjoying this, then stop doing it. Go do something else that you enjoy doing. Just have fun with the game, because this is a very fun game and a very good built game. So just enjoy the ride, enjoy playing the game, and you'll definitely have success. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please comment down below and let me know some other early beginning tips that you have for other beginners that are coming to this video. That way they get those extra beginning tips as well. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Also, feel free to hit that red subscribe button, and I will see you guys in the next one. Slacker out.